Okay, so wonderful. Welcome everyone, and welcome to chapter 1 of our book. We want to do more than survive. Abolitionist teaching. You'll hear a lot of people talking about the term abolitionist teaching. You'll hear a lot of persons talking about anti-racist pedagogy, right? Freedom pedagogy. And you hear that comes out of the work of Gloria Ladson Billings as well. And so this book is such an amazing book. And of course, by the great Bettina Love. We want to more than survive. And for me, as we get into chapter 1, I remember when I got this book, and the first part of or you open the book and the chapter 1 says, "We who are dark." And that was something that I sat for a while to think about, just the framing and the phrasing, "We who are dark." And think about color, think about colorism, think about that we are not the same, our difference, and what does that look like? And in a classroom, we who are dark. And so for me, when teaching this course using this textbook, maybe the third time around, I started to think about identity, knowing who you are, knowing the value you bring to the classroom as a student and as a Black educator, knowing who is in front of you. That is so powerful. All our teachers at the University of Toronto, all our teachers in our program here, we share this with them. Get to know who is in front of you. Who are your students? Where are they from? Their background. Who are your students? But it's also very, very, very important when you think about racialized students and those who are dark, understanding who they are, where they come from, their walk, their journey, for you to be effective with them. And sometimes we have to be very careful, because when you get to know your students, sometimes even ourselves, we go to deficit, like, oh, let me know who is struggling, let me know where they are coming from, let me know what I can do for them, let me know. And we ourselves get caught up into that white savior mentality, because immediately you want to run out to save your student without even knowing who they are. And some of us, we have caused damage and hurt more than anything else sometimes when it comes to our work as educators. So we who are dark, thinking about your students. But I also want to frame this a little bit as we get into this chapter around one of my favorite writers, and that's Gloria Ladson Billings. And she said, we enter the society raced. We come to school raced. We apply for jobs raced. We enter the marketplace raced. We can never leave our race at home or on a shelf. I want that to sink in. From the great Gloria Ladson Billings, who talk about culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy, talking about critical cultural consciousness, to understand when you like myself, understand that you are raced. You buy a house race. The people know a Black family is moving in, or a Black person. You walk into the bank. I will tell you a story about that. And you walk into the bank to get a mortgage. You walk in as a Black man. You don't walk in as Dr. Campbell Allison. You don't walk in as Professor Campbell. You don't walk in as a person who has their full down payment. What they see first is a Black man walking in that bank. And whoever is interacting with you, they center your Blackness in a certain way. It can be stereotypical, it can be assumption, it could be something they see from television about Black people. And so now you're being served in a bank at the counter in a certain way based on your identity. And I feel like a lot of persons sometimes feel, well, if I wasn't doing this, they may have treated me different. If I wasn't wearing my hijab, then they have treated me different. If I didn't have a locks on, they may treat me different. If I didn't have this accent, they may have treated me different. What I want to understand from us, and what I want us to get to understand, is we have to stop thinking we need to change something about ourselves so we can be accepted, so we can be included. That is one of the premise of deficit thinking, that something is wrong with you on arrival. And so we need to fix you before we can do anything with you. So many of our students in our class, our teachers see them in deficit way as something to be fixed, someone to be fixed, not someone to be challenged and offered all that is beautiful when it comes to education. So we have to be very careful. So remember one of my very fat word I love, the word navigate. So when Dora Latzabilin says this, then she said this afterwards. So because we are plagued by the social construct, get ready for this now. We have to find ways to live our lives and participate in society with one aspect of our identity that seems to enter the room before we do. I remember, Kenzie, somebody asked me a powerful question. I will never forget. Someone said to me, they were in some space and someone said to them, oh, you know, Dr. ABC. And it was like, and the person is close to me. And so the persons in the group asked this particular young lady, does he lead with his blackness, or does he lead with his blackness or his sexuality? I thought for me was a very honest, powerful question. I don't think there was nothing for me offensive about that question, because people want to know. And I smiled and I said, I lead with the part of me that you see first, and that is my blackness. I could keep my mouth shut, sit somewhere, and you don't know what my sexual orientation. I sit somewhere, I keep my mouth closed. You don't know I am a Christian. I sit somewhere, I keep my mouth closed. You don't know my both parents passed away since I came to Canada. My mother, just 2 years ago. You don't know I am a homeowner. You don't know I'm a professor. But what you know is that I'm a black man. And so what we have to realize is that we have to know who we are. So often we define ourselves by others. I remember when I was 2019, I was invited to speak on a panel. Myself, I've never known Mari McKinney Edwards at that time. That's the first time I met her. I was on a panel with her and also a professor from UTS. And they asked us a question about how, we see ourselves and measure up in a society. We're always measuring us against whiteness. And I said to them, I am so happy I've come to the place in my life where I do not genuinely measure my value based on a white tape measurement or a white standard to say, well, I'm good enough because I am this good enough like that person. You have to know your value as a black person, as yourself, by yourself. And so it's important that as an educator, when you walk into the classroom, that you see the students in front of you and you see their value. I remember using this picture in another class. And you're going to love this example, Allison. And I ask a question. I use it a lot in my anti-discrimination class. And I would say, what is in their knapsack? What are your students coming to your class with? And so often you get the truth, you get the honesty. They are coming without breakfast. They are coming, and it's not for black students, this is general, all our students. What are they coming to school with? They are coming without breakfast. They are coming with low self-esteem. They are coming with peer pressure. They are coming with being bullied. They are coming with confusion. They are coming with some of them coming transitioning. They are coming with their sexual identity. They are coming with religion. They are coming with fear. They are coming with sadness. They are coming from war-torn homes. They are coming as a new immigrant with 3, 4, 5 beautiful language, but none English. I hope you got what I just did. I hope you got what I just did. They are coming with 5, 6 beautiful languages, but not English. What are those things? And so we got into the habit in many of these conversations to list all the things that are deficit. And I remember there's always one person or two in my class who will say, well, sir, they're coming with knowledge. They're coming with home experience. They're coming with 2 languages. They're coming with computer knowledge. They're coming with skills and ability. They're coming, they can sing, they can dance. They're coming with all the things. So I want you to understand, as a teacher, when you see this knapsack in the morning and you come into a classroom of students, let's say the classroom full of racialized kids or black kids, you have to be very careful how you think about what is in their knapsack. What are they coming to school with? Because if deficit is the first place we go, and let me just say this, many of us, we are struggling how to come out of deficit and stay in strength-based because the society feeds us that. Once you see blackness, you immediately go to deficit. That's why some of you are questioning, is that your home? Did you rent it? You can't buy it, right? They go, it's immediately, wow, you work at that university, really? Like, they can't believe your success. This is a part of it, because they are rooted in the assumptions and the stereotypes, and most of those assumptions and stereotypes are not just deficit, but they're also dangerous. Dangerous. Bettina Love said, we who are dark. And so you have to know to center yourself. That's why for this first lecture, I asked a question, who are you? You have to know to walk in a room and center yourself in a way that understands that you are proud of who you are. And many of us, we're on a journey. Sad to say, I think many of us as Black people, we're on a journey to know who we are. I don't find white people trying to figure out who they are. They know they are white. They know they are powerful. They know they are privileged. They know they have access. We have to know who we are. And it's so sad that when we get to the place of knowing who we are, many times we are accused of being arrogant. We are accused of being aggressive. We are accused of being this because we are not used to blackness when it's unbothered. I say to somebody the other day, when they asked me, Dr. Campbell, the way you present yourself, I said, the way I present myself is because you're seeing blackness when it's unbothered. You're seeing blackness when it's left alone. I've been on flight. I travel on flight. I love planes. And I've seen myself, no joke, in business class. And I've seen how I've watched how my body behaves when I was questioned, sir, let me see your card to make sure I'm in the right seat. So now I realize they already start messing with me. They already start messing with me. And so I sit down, and I remember long ago, couple years, not long ago, but couple years ago, when it happened to me, I realized how pissed I was. But I also realized that there's a part of me, get ready for this, Alero. There's a part of me that I almost question if I really should have been in business class. It's a little part of me. And there's a little part of me that look around to see if, well, there's 12 people in business class. There's 12 white people and me. Or there's, you kind of look around. That's what the white gaze does to you. It constantly, I'm going to switch to a beautiful, I'm going to come back, but I want to go to this. Toni Morrison, she says, the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you, I feel it. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over your reason for being. It keeps you and prevents you from just sitting in the seat, crossing your legs, and asking for a glass of champagne, because that's what you deserve. But you are questioning if you deserve it because of what you just experienced and entering the plane. It keeps you from wanting to ask for too much because you don't want to be a bother. I know I'm resonating with somebody. Because this is what it does. It makes you question your value, question who you are and what you're supposed to get. I talk about self-care and softness a lot. And all over this summer, I kept saying, dear Black people, you deserve softness. Because I hear you in your research, what you talk about, and you talk about resilience. And we were taught a lot how to be resilient. We are taught a lot how to be tough, how to suck it up and move on and still be amazing. And I'm going to be frank with you. I have had my share of praising myself because of my levels of resilience. And one day, I still praise myself for that because I deserve it. But one day, Allison, I sat down. I will never forget. I was doing a lecture just like this. And I asked a question, but I don't think I was emotionally prepared. I could feel when my heart just moved. I said, what if we never had to be so resilient? What if our students who come into our classes, our racialized kids, our Black kids, those who are dark, didn't have to always be so resilient. They just get to be. Imagine how they would flourish and thrive if they would just get to be. So now when I go on a plane in a business class, I live my absolutely best life because I know I'm supposed to be there. As a matter of fact, when I have this thing, so if you travel and you have points and you put your name on the upgrade for the business class and they go to the, you wait at the gate and they finally call your name to change the ticket to promote you to business class. I notice the way I go for my ticket. I go for my ticket like, finally, girl, you call my name. Because I'm deserving to be there. Not because I'm the best passenger, not because I have more points, but because the system says when you put in your name in the system, it shows who is next in line. And so automatically, you know if you're in line for the upgrade. How many of our students, our co-workers, our teachers, our Black people have been in that line, deserving and waiting for the upgrade, and some way our systems of anti-Blackness, our systems of racism, our systems of colonization, somehow their name is not called. There are tons of stories each of us could tell when our names, maybe one day I could write an essay about that. When they skip your name, cheating you out of what you deserve. And so we have to be careful that we get used to being cheated. We have to be careful we get used to being in deficit. We get used to the assumptions and the stereotype, and all of a sudden we start living and walking them. But what is this book about? Oh, this beautiful book. What is this beautiful book about? And this beautiful book is about, this book is about mattering, surviving, resisting, thriving, healing, imagining, freedom, love, and joy. This book. This book had touched me and my heart in so many ways. All elements of abolitionist work and teaching. Abolitionist teaching is the practice of working in solidarity. Everybody circle that word. In solidarity with communities of color, while drawing on the imagination, creativity, refusal, remembering, vision thinking, healing. Oh, I love this one. Rebellious spirit, boldness, determination, and subversiveness of abolitionists to eradicate injustice inside and outside of schools. I love this the way we love to talk about, for instance, Harriet Tubman. We like a Harriet Tubman story. You know, she freed the slaves and she did this and she did that. But we don't like to talk about the fact that she carried a gun. We don't like to talk about the fact that she did some things to get us to get our ancestors free. We don't like to talk about that there was a bounty on her head, wanted, dead and alive, hunted. And so when you get into this work, and I speak to some persons who are so hurt and so emotional about the first time they experience some craziness in the school, I have to say to them, are you ready for this work? Because this kind of work is heavy lifting. And I've known Black people who have said to me, well, I don't need to be involved in all this heavy lifting because whatever. I get it. You're fabulous. And then immediately they said to me, Dr. Campbell, this happened to me at work today. I go, okay. I said, the people at work know you're Black. You're the person who didn't know you were Black. I said it unapologetically. And so there are certain things that you will face. Because we are never left unbothered. There's no such thing as we are being left unbothered. And so that's why we navigate spaces. That's why we have to navigate spaces. So I love this quote. But I love this one as well. Oh, I love this one. It says, we who are dark are complex. We are more than our skin. Yes, yes, yes. I want that to settle for a little bit. We who are dark are complex. We are more than our skin. Hues of blacks and brown. We are intersect with our monolith darkness, with our cultures, languages, races, gender, sexualities, abilities, religions, and spiritualities. Our complicated identities cannot be discussed or examined in isolation from one another. These identities, complexities, which create our multifaceted range of beings, must matter too. And that is why this crap about who is black enough. I've had persons who said, I don't feel so comfortable here because I'm not dark like everybody else. And I have to start by saying, but this is where you belong. This is where you belong. And we have to be honest about the issues that we face within our community. Issues of colorism, issues of shadism, issues of socioeconomic factors, issues of privilege, issues of how some of us, we have worked hard to maintain a certain stature and a certain privilege, almost as if we have graduated from blackness. We have to be careful of those things and mindful of those things. Classism, thank you, Chanel. The classism. Remember to be free to use the chat box. I'm very good at going back and forth to see your comment because your comment is valuable to me. So I want you to think about those things. That's why I love this book so much, because it centers us on why this is necessary. But then it also said to us, we are complex. We are complex. Let me give you a good level of complexity, Allison. I walk into black community and they go, oh, that's Dr. ABC, is this, is that, he fight for this, he's an advocate, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody mentioned, oh, he's gay. That changes a lot of the dynamics, a whole lot. And that will want to challenge me to see how do I show up in a black community. And I'm going to be frank with you, and this is for the recording because we share the recordings on my YouTube channel. I show up with all my intersection and as best as I can. So there's no conversation you're going to ever have with me and I'm going to hide my sexuality. We're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be doing that, because I've seen where in black community you are absolutely amazing until they realize your sexual orientation. And so we have to be careful the ways in which we have even been divided, the ways in which we were colonized back, for instance, in Jamaica, to look at people as deficit. With the same black community, we look at people who are Rastafarian as less than. The same black community, we look at persons who practice African spirituality as doing something evil. Where did we get that from? We were taught that. We were taught that. Voodoo, Mayaism, Santeria, all these African spirituality and expressions, religious expression, we were taught these things were evil. And so we run to religion. We run to whiteness. We run to a white expression of religion. Thank you for saying that, Victor. Victor says it. When he used to wear his locks as a Liberian, they look at him different. Absolutely. And the different is always deficit. It's not just different. It's deficit, that you are less than. And so we have to know how to show up. So hats off to all the Rastafarians who have showed up in the space, in their power and their beauty. So we are multifaceted. Intersectionality is more than counting representation in a room. It's more than that. It is understanding community power or its lack, and ensured inclusivity in social justice movements. It is a way to build alliances and organizing for social change. I love the picture on the right. Bunch of black women and the different using this complexion and the skin, and on the left side to see the interaction. We need community, and community means different things for different people. And I like what you said. Thank you for being so honest, saying you never appreciate cutting your lock, and I like what you said, for the record, because it's important to speak up to say that. But you felt compelled to do it. And I'm so sorry that you had to do it. But you're going to learn one of these days that if you want to do it again, you can maybe go back to that because you're coming to a different place. And when you're younger and you're more vulnerable and you're into powerful spaces, there are many ways we have to twist and turn and contort ourselves. There's some of us who are in physical pain. Get ready for this now. There's some of us who are in physical pain because of the amount of times we have had to contort ourselves to suit whiteness and colonial system and institution systems. So many times if you watch me or you see my post, I will just post a picture and I would say blackness unbothered. When it's just unbothered. I have something I said to you very, very, very important. And I've said this online and a lot of people commented on it. And this is me personally. When I go on a vacation, I am very intentional and I'm learning to be even more intentional. If some of you have ever experienced going on a vacation in a place where it's predominantly Black, you will come back one day and tell me it's a whole different experience than when you are in, for instance, if I go to a all-inclusive hotel in Jamaica, I will never have a beautiful experience as much as people may think I should. Because I'm in a space in my own country, Jamaica, but as a Black person in that hotel, I am in the minority. And we have been programmed through colonized ways that we don't even realize how to serve white people with a level of respect and a level of respect and level of deserving. And for me, I don't get that. I don't get that. So for me, I like to go to other places where I am in the majority. So when I go to Ghana, for instance, for my vacation, the service that I get, it feels different. But also, I must be honest, I've had my Ghanaian friends say to me, it's the same thing here. I have had Ghanaian friends who work in the restaurant said, we are programmed, we are taught, we are told how to serve the white guests. And they say, when a white guest comes in, they have to scurry and scurry to make sure everything is perfect. And they said to me, guests like you who have done well and order more food and pay and give a bigger tip do not get the kind of service that we give to white guests. And I know it of a fact. How are we going to get to that place when we give each other what we deserve? It's a lot, but it's important. So research talks about the high rate of suspension. Let's get back into the classroom. Are not because of misbehavior. The research says this. But because of racist and sexist stereotypes that teachers and school officials hold against Black girls. Far too many suspensions is a birthright of being a young and Black. And let me give you something very, very important here. When I do workshops about belonging, LGBTQ issues, anything with educators, there's something I remind educators. I think they get it by now, but I always try to remind them. I say to them, I want you to understand that all the issues that are happening in school, listen to me carefully, to Black and brown and racialized kids and LGBTQs, whatever, homophobia, anti-Muslim, anti-Semitism, you name it, it's happening in schools. And it's happening on our watch. It's happening on our watch. Absolutely, Kenzie, respectability, politics. It's happening on our watch. When you say this happened in grade 5 or this happened in grade 9, it's happening in school on our watch. The language students are using, there are teachers who are hearing it and leaving it uncorrected. And so we as educators, we have to take responsibility for, let me go back to and show you what we have to take responsibility for. We have to take responsibility for that healing, that love, that joy, that thriving, that imagination, that creativity, that freedom. We are responsible to cultivate and sustain and nurture that. Take a note, I did not highlight the word surviving and resisting. I get it, I do it. I'm in survival mode many times. But many times I am not in survival mode. I'm living in thriving way more than survival mode. But we have to work at that. We have to work at that. It is my hope It is my hope that the members of our Oise Black BFEP cohort will have way less issues and concerns when it comes to race and certain dynamics we have seen at Oise for years, because they are building community intentionally. But don't you ever think for 1 minute that I think it's going to be all things bright and beautiful. It's going to be skittles and rainbows. It won't be. I've already had certain conversations where we have students who are even struggling with their own selves. And so we're going to have that because we are complex. And so I had a beautiful conversation with the class to remind them that we are complex. This is not a kumbaya class. We are complex. Somebody wants something, somebody's vegetarian, somebody don't want certain meat. Like for me, I want a good piece of nice jerk pork. Somebody don't eat pork. Somebody don't eat chicken. Somebody's vegan. Somebody's this. Somebody's hijab wearing. Somebody's Christian. Somebody don't believe in religion at all. Somebody believe in African spirituality. Somebody has come from privileged home. Their parents have done well. Their parents are medical doctors and biologists and scientists and all kind of stuff. And they just write a check and come to class. There are persons who, if they don't work part-time, they can't pay their school fees. And they're in the same class. I want us to appreciate that. And when you learn to appreciate that as a student, you will be amazing to appreciate it as an educator. And so what is mattering? What is mattering? I love when Bettina Love asks us that question. And when Bettina Love said, when you understand how hard it is to fight for educational justice, you know that there are no shortcuts and no gimmicks. You know this is to be true deep in your soul, which brings both frustration. You see that word there? I'm going to maybe put that word, I'm going to put this side of my social media tonight. Both frustration and determination. And that's what you have to understand. Educational justice is going to take people power, driven by spirit and ideas of the folks who have done the work of anti-racism before abolitionists. These educational parasites, this is from the book, page 10. We're in chapter 1. Most of you should have your book. I like these things. Read the chapters ahead of the class, please. So when I'm doing these lectures, you are in tune and in sync because you have seen it before and it resonated with you before. Don't let me tell you everything. If I tell you everything, then it's not going to be as joyful. You want to read it and it jump off the page like it jumped off the page for me. We talk about, I like what Bettina called educational parasites who need dark children. I think this was strong when I read it first. I said, this is strong. And the second time I read it, I got it. Who need dark children to be underserved and failing, which supports their feel-good, quick fix, gimmicky narrative and the financial reason for their existence. There are many people who make a living because some of us are always struggling. If we didn't struggle, they wouldn't have a job, you know. And so they need our kids to be underserved and failing. So they come up with all their great ideas. Every single idea you see a school board comes up with to help racialized kids and black kids and immigrant kids and poor kids and marginalized kids and whatever they labels they want to use. Somebody, oh, I'm going to say this very ready, so you better get ready for it. Every one of these initiatives you see we have come up with to save racialized and black kids and these kids, somebody also get praise for that. Somebody got a new title for that. Somebody got a promotion for that. Somebody got a good consultancy fee for that. So don't you ever think that this action where we see happening all the time, people are not benefiting from that. And so I already came to this because it was so powerful for me. I had to run to it so quick. Because Toni Morrison says the function, the very serious function, is distraction. You know how many of us, let me say this. Do you know how many of us are distracted? I want to pause on that for a minute. Do you know how many black folks in schools and nurses and educators and just in any field you can think of. You know how distracted we are? Because we're constantly have to be explaining ourselves. And so instead of you are thriving and frolicking and living your best life, you're over here explaining yourself. I have been, let me share a very important example. I have been in a rest mode. I have been in my soft life mode. I have been living my best life, having a glass of mimosa and just doing the most. And somebody comes over to talk to me and they want to talk about anti-Blackness and race and something. And I would say to them, not today. I said, I'm literally luxuriating. I said, I'm not having that conversation today. We have to know how to catch our breath. We have to know how to catch our breath. We have to know how to take care of ourselves. Some of us, we have not done a good job of taking care of ourselves while doing this work. So I know Black people right now who have done so much work within community, and they are pissed, they are angry, they are hurt, and they feel discarded, disrespected, and forgotten. I have spoken to people like that, and they even look like the work they do. The work has killed some of us. And so when I say to Black people in my workshop, I need you to attend to your self-care, they get it from me. I need you to pour oil into your lamp. I need you to fill up back your lamp. There's a Negro spiritual who said, a little more oil in my lamp. Keep it burning. You have to know when you are running on low, when you're running on empty. I tell a story the other day. I was going to speak in Alton District School Board. And I get up in the morning, jump in my car. This was 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, jump in my car. I went on the 407 and I saw that my car was very low. It was on E. Something just said, Andrew, go. So I jumped in the car. On the 407, something said to me, this is not going to, get ready for this. This is not going to take you all the way out to, where was I going? Milton or whatever you call that place out there. Okay? It's not going to take you there. I want you to listen to me carefully, Sarah, on this one. Something says to me, this will not take you there, Dr. Campbell. No matter how much PhD you have, no matter how cute you think you are, no matter how fabulous you're dressed. And I was dressed up that morning. You should have seen me. It doesn't matter. This car, the gas in this car is not going to take you there. Warning. And if you run out of gas on the 407, it's a situation, because the nearest exit is how many miles away, and they're going to have to, this is a situation. You know what I did? I look at my clock, I look at my time, I check, and I said I have to come up, and I exit the highway. Next stop, exit, and I asked Miss Siri, I said, where's the nearest gas station? And she said, whatever minutes down the road, and I went, and I fill up, and I head back right on the 407. I want to say this to you listening to me and those who will listen to this 10 months after. You have to know when you're running on empty. Running on empty is dangerous. And many of us as anti-racist leaders, advocates, abolitionists, we are community leaders. We are deep into this work. We are so used to running on empty. We're living dangerously because then we are hurting. I see it a lot. I see people who are hurting and crying and sad. And when what happens afterwards, you become very, very angry. So I want you to learn as you do this work how to pour into yourself. And that's why I'm so big on Black joy. I'm so big on luxuriating. I'm so big on softness. I've had people come to the center and I said, get a cup of tea. And they look at me like, I said, get a cup of tea. They look at me shocked. I said, And you could see that they need a cup of tea, but they wouldn't ask me. I said, yeah, and sit and just breathe. Just breathe. And when you are filled up, you can go again. When you are full, you can go again. I fill that car of gas. I head to Alton District School Board. I reached there about 15 minutes before my speaking time. They introduced me as a speaker. Let me tell you something. I know the Alton people will listen to this video. You know I was on fire. Like, what? What? And I only could do that, Allison, because I was full. I was coming to them from a good place on the inside. So when I stop to pause to talk about these things, there are people who think that to be a great teacher, you need to have content. I know teachers who are great with content and they are horrible because content, I always say it, content is 40% of the job. 40, especially 2024. Most of your high school students could Google whatever you're saying to them. Half of what you say, they could Google. If you think coming to this class, I was going to read the book with you, you don't know me. Read the book. You could read the book. You could make a cup of tea and go read the book. I don't need to be coming online to read book with you. I'm not going to put on my new t-shirt and get my face together to come read book. No, we're here to have the deep conversations. And so part of my job is when you leave this class, Alyssa, when you leave this class, Andrea, when you leave this class, Allison, you will be empowered. You will be encouraged. Nadia knows me because Nadia's worked with me. She's MTBA. But when you're finished with this class with me, you're supposed to be way more inspired and motivated because Dr. ABC poured into you. That is the purpose of this course. Not to read the book with you. Go read the book on your own. Do I look like I'm teaching reading? Go read the book on your own. We are here to take the things from the book and let them resonate with us. And so that is why we are here. And I want you to understand how valuable these conversations are. And when I put you in the breakout rooms, those conversations for me are the $1 million. And just so you know, every class you'll be doing more breakout rooms, longer sessions, because I want you to learn from each other. So the barriers we face, I'm going to wrap up with this one. Think about the barriers. Think about the barriers. I love the last sentence. School based on intersectional justice, anti-racism, love, healing, and joy. We have to understand our schools and classrooms must be places where our students live. Oh, this quote is not from the book. This quote, look where it is from. It's from the Catholic Board, Toronto Catholic District School Board. I found this statement about, I think it's 2019, the year after they created it. And I fell in love with this statement. I have used this statement a lot. Because whoever crafted this statement, it's a chair and the director at the time of the Toronto Catholic District School Board. I think it's such an amazing statement. Our schools and classrooms must be places where students' lived experience are valued and celebrated, where they see themselves in the curriculum, where they are authentically engaged, and where barriers to their success are identified and removed. Our governance and human resource practices will support welcoming, safe, and inclusive learning environment. I'm going to repeat that. Our governance and human resource practices will support welcoming, safe, and inclusive learning environment. I feel the need to repeat it. Our governance and human resource practices will support. It don't just happen. So stop going to a school, and when you see a school that is so amazing, just think, wow, oh my God, this school is so amazing. I guess that's like magic. No, it's not magic. It's the ways our educators and teachers have invested in the human resource, how they have supported the welcoming, safe, and inclusive environment. And when you go to another school and you see how horrible it is and how miserable some people are and how the teachers are hurting and how things are not running well, it's also the way the principal and the teachers there, how they lack invested in a welcoming, safe, and inclusive environment. The paint on the wall don't make a great school. It doesn't. And I like your statement, your question, Kenzie. How do you not end up jaded when every step is a barrier and there is no support? And that is why I use the word support. So here is my advice on this, and thank you for that, Kenzie. You have to figure out intentionally, I've said this to many people, who are your support system. I'm going to stop the screen share the screen for a minute so I can share something with you. And I'm going to center myself so you get to see me there. I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to share something very important with you, Kenzie, because this is powerful what you said. Because you're not the only person. Many people have talked about that. You have to be intentional about finding your support system. You have to be very intentional about finding your support system. I'm going to say something very, very important. When I realized the task ahead of me, when I was asked to be director for the Center for Black Studies in Education, well, the first thing Shernet, who was the administrative assistant at the time, and I said, can I see the list of volunteers? We sent a letter out and some persons raised their hands. Those volunteers, I had to say to them, Sarah was there, Nadia was there, Victor was there, I need you. I said, I need you. Many things that what I've done with the center so far, if I didn't have volunteers and people who were supporting me, it would not be done. It could not be done. We had the launch of BFEP at the morning and a center celebration in the evening. If I tell you the kind of work, just imagine. First of all, there are people who said they have never seen Oisy Library look like that. Imagine the work. But it's not just our volunteer. We had people in the office like Lisa Wan and Tessa Barkley and Sim Kapoor and Marianne Lou who literally said to me, Dr. ABC, I got you. I came on one evening and I was so emotional because of the support that I felt. And these are not people, Kenzie, their job description. Let me say that to you. Let me say that to you. The ways in which people have showed up for me. I was very emotional. I cried because I asked about decorating and putting the center together, and I sent out a bunch of emails. And you and I would think that there are people who you think, oh, that person is going to support Dr. ABC. They're going to do whatever. I had community members show up. Let me give you a perfect example, Kenzie. So I wanted some mannequin to display in the center. When you come to the center, you'll see what the center looks like. I know you've been there before. You're going to see a whole different space. And I posted on social media that I'm looking for 4 mannequin, head to waist part. They must have neck and they must have a bust. I want that one, but I don't want a whole long one. I need it for the Center of Black Studies in Education. I put it on my Facebook. Within 2 hours, a teacher from Peel District School Board inboxed me. Not my friend, never been to my house. I know she don't know where I live. And she said, Dr. Campbell, I don't have it, but I know somebody. I'm going to ask for you how many you need. I said, I would love 4 if you could. An hour after she texted me, she said, I got you 4. And she had someone deliver them to the center for me. The next day, one of my friends, she saw it on decor. She said, oh my God, it looks so good. She said, I'm going to give you a gift. Our husband brought to my house, and putting this on the lecture, brought to my house a 5 by 2 feet paint frame glass of beautiful, authentic Ankara fabric from Ghana that they bought, and they gave it to me framed in glass. I cannot do what I do well, Kenzie, without support. I'm going to go very personal on this recording because I want to pour into you so you get it, because you are amazing. We have a conversation, and the things that you are going to do is going to be amazing. But I want you to start gathering your people. I love it. I got people. Oh, I got people. Start gathering them. And let me just say, because I feel the need to say this. There are people, because I'm going to give you this, because I don't want you to, I don't want to fake you out. I want to genuine you out. There are people sometimes who I thought was my people who are not my people. So don't you think I'm giving you like, oh my God, it's going to be great. Just find any black folks and they're going to be your friends. No, I've had that. But I can tell you, when you're genuine in your work and you're genuine how you pour into people, people are going to pour into you. There are people who say to me, Dr. Campbell, the only person who could get me travel so far to come do certain things is because it's you. And I know it's me. But I pour into community, and community will pour into you. So my advice to you and to all of us who are going to do this work and do it well, find your people. Find your support. Find somebody you can bounce an idea off. Find somebody you can say, you think I should use this? You think this is good? Find people who you trust. Not people who are going to bullshit you, or people are going to talk be nice to you, and then when you're gone, they disparage your name. Find people genuinely are going to reach out for you. Alison, I see your hand. I'm going to take your response. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I
No,
just
don't be
want
sorry.
to
Go ahead.
say to the young people in the room, I'm not going to give my age, but I know many of you guys could be my child or children.
Yeah.
In education, what you'll find, or what I found, it took me, and I want to say this without being emotional,
Yeah.
15 years, because the individuals that I know that I call my sister friends or my network or Dr. Campbell took me 15 years
Yeah.
to find a network.
Yeah.
Right? And in the space, whether it's done purposefully or not, I
Yeah.
will say sometimes it's done very purposefully. You work in silos.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're all, some of us, not all of us, but those who are aware and knowledgeable
Yeah.
and see it,
Yeah.
right? We feel all alone, but what Dr. Campbell's saying is find that network, because
Absolutely.
it will fill you. It will make what you're doing so much more purposeful, so much more easier. And when it's not easy, they will lift you
Up.
up.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Kenzie, please jump right in.
Yeah, the reason I share all of that is because I have worked in these equity roles before,
Yes.
where I'm often the only one doing work for 200 schools worth of kids, and everything that I'm pushing for, the things that I feel are like basic, like things that I feel like shouldn't even have to be asked to be done, are coming up against barrier against barrier against barrier. And I don't have 15 years of that in
No.
me personally.
No.
And so it's difficult when I feel like I am knowledgeable. I know I'm knowledgeable. I know I'm good at what I do, but nobody wants to support me in that. And nobody actually wants to see me be successful in what I'm doing. But I know that what I do is make or break for somebody's life, somebody
Absolutely.
who is a child who is out here, who looks up to me, and I'm out here fighting, but I can't pour from my empty cup, right?
No.
And it's my life too. Like, these are things I experience every single day that I'm then hearing from these kids, that I'm then going out of my way to fight for these kids.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting work when it's me and me alone, and there aren't other people who identify, and there aren't other people who want to support. And so I'm just wondering, like, I know doing a year of that work just about burnt me out to the point I had to take mental health leave,
Yeah.
because I was just so stressed about the expectations on me, and
Yes.
the lack of support when you're saying, well, you're going to do that thing and we hired you to do that thing, but we're not going to give you any tools to actually get the thing done.
Oh,
So what do you do?
this is so common. What you're saying is so common. And so we're going to move on. Thank you so much for that, Kenzie. What you said is so common. And so what you have to always remember to be intentional about is And I love what you said. I love what you said. You don't have 15 years of that in you. And that was very personal. And I like when Allison said, with emotion, it took me 15 years. And so we want to realize that both of those things are powerful. One person, it took 15 years. One person made it clear, I don't have 15 years in me. And so you ask yourself, how do I find community? This is such a powerful, I'm going to wrap up our conversation in a minute. We have to be intentional about finding community. I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning. If I did not have the support that I had in the CBSC, I would not do some of the things. I just would not. I know my capacity. I know what I can or cannot do. I would not look like this fresh and ready to live on, to teach the world. I would be exhausted and broken. And then I'm going to be angry at OISE, angry at the volunteers, angry at everybody. So I have worked on building my own community. And so that is for it for me. Find your community. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. I'm going to give you a practical example, everybody. Today I'm home. I'm working from home today. I did a lot of email. Today is like International Email Day. And I saw two things come across my Instagram. One of them I'm going to show you. We're still on recording, so it's important that we are on recording. We're still recording. Let me give you an example, practical stuff. So I went and I saw two events. One of them was sent to me by Dr. Ardivan Izadaran, who is at Wilfrid Laurier. And he is keeping a black something going on, and it's going to be happening. I think it's going to be someday in October, then some Tuesday in October, and it's right on Spadina. And it's all kind of black people, black justice, whatever. I put it in my notes, and I said, I need to pull up. It's October the 8th, 6 p.m., Black Justice Town Hall. That's one event. And then another event, what I was telling you about, is another day in, I think that one is September the 24th or one of those days. Yeah, September the 24th, Youth Community Justice Forum. So let me tell you what happens for me. In those spaces, it's going to be predominantly black folks. So I am going to be in community with black folks, period. They may pour into me, I may pour into them, I may meet a friend, I may meet somebody, I may even fall in love. And I say that very, very strong and very clear. When you are in community in an intentional way, you go seeking community in an intentional way, you have to think about how it's going to happen. And so it's a level of intentionality that I push hard in how I show up in these spaces. So I have known persons who said, well, I don't know community. Not this is not you I'm talking about, general. And I've said to people, tell me when last you go somewhere where there's a whole bunch of black people hang out. And they said to me, I don't. You have to make your way to those spaces. I have people who have come to me and they're struggling. I said, you have to make your way to build community. When you hear that they're TDSB, black teachers, whatever. I know black teachers I've introduced to ONAPSI. They was like, wow, that's this where all the black teachers are gathering. Or DBEN or HAM. You have to go in spaces. And then you have to also maybe create spaces. I heard you talking about, I think it was Andrea talking about the non-profit group that they started. You know how many parents are blessed and emotional and honored that their black boys and girls have somewhere to go where black people are taking care of them, not just seeing them run, but care for their other parts of them. So we have to find those spaces. We have to find those spaces. It's our job to find those spaces. And I love this because funny, this was coming up. Teachers working with community in groups in solidarity. That's the word we use growing up. In solidarity. We can't do it by ourselves. By ourselves, oh, they tell us foolishness. They don't sign no paper. They tell you wait. But when three of us write the letter, when we see 5 people on it, there's so many like strategies to deal with institutions we have to learn. When you write something to one person and you see 7 other black teachers or 7 other black people that we're coming as a group. BFEP happened because a black students gather other black students to come and talk to the leadership. So I want us to think about the ways in which we are pulling on each other. So abolition, as I wrap this one up for today, abolitionist teaching is built on creativity. We talk about that already. And we talk about that. I leave that image for a reason there. I'm going to tell you a quick story and then I'll wrap up. I was 2019, I was asked to speak at a high school in Peel. I went to the auditorium, very big auditorium, tons of black kids. And I looked around at the staff, like any other school, predominantly white. And they came in and I was being the keynote and it was amazing. And when this is a high school I'm talking, when this slide came on the big monitor, the school is a ridiculous, it's the biggest PowerPoint projector something I've ever seen. Just amazing. The entire like stage is a screen. It was just fabulous. And this came on the screen and you could hear, I didn't know the school had so much hijab wearing Muslim young ladies. When this came on the screen, you could hear the student go, this was the year 2019 that a Muslim woman was on the cover of Swimsuit. Go Google it. This was the year in a full hijab and her hijabi bathing suit on the cover of swimsuit illustration. And then the cover of Italia Vogue. Seeing themselves on the screen in that kind of way, in that kind of image, it did something for them. A whole bunch of them came to me afterwards. So we have to understand as educators the ways in which we impact our students, the ways in which we see our students, the ways in which we present our students, the ways in which we tell them they can imagine and they can dream, the ways in which we say to our students, it is possible. I have a joke I always give. I always say when I teach little kids, any child, black, brown, what, it doesn't matter what children, and they say to me, I said, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a doctor. I said, oh, I can't wait for you to be a doctor so you can take care of me because I think I'm going to be old. I'm going to need a doctor. And they laugh. But there are many schools, many classrooms where kids tell their teachers their dream and a teacher will make it look like that's too big for them because nobody where you come from dreamed that big. There are tons of stories like that. So how do you disrupt those stories? I am disrupting those stories in my class by myself. So there are things you're going to do by yourself, powerful. And I have to go to something because I feel I need to share this one before we wrap up. I had a young lady the other day, Kenzie, inbox me, email me, and she said, hey, Dr. ABC, I saw you at this function. And she said, I don't think you remember who I am. And I said, no, I don't. She sent me a picture. And she said, that was me years ago. She said, that was me. She said, I remember when you came to our school, blah, 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 blah. And she said, she's identified as a lesbian, right? And she said to me, I admire you so much. You, every time I watch you, I'm so happy. And I see a black gay man like you, and she just feeling with joy. So there are many ways that we can inspire, motivate, help our students to dream. Sometimes we don't even know we are doing it. We don't even know we are doing it. We don't even know we are doing it. So sometimes we want you to go out for the march. We want you to do the workshop. We want you to block the street. We want you to demonstrate. We want you to say Black Lives Matter. We want you to do all of that. But sometimes the way you show up in a classroom with just your presence and your love, your joy, the way you show up strong, the stories you read, the stories you share, your music. I had a whole bunch of kids who like to pass my classroom on a lunchtime because they're always hearing my music. I only play Anita Baker and Beyonce, child. There's always Beyonce and Anita Baker in my classroom. And they used to always passing, just to hear Mr. Campbell music. Right? So you never know how much you're doing and the work you're doing. So I leave you with that this is the work of mattering to one another. It is the work of mattering to one another. It is the work of pursuing freedom. It is the work of our survival and how we will one day thrive together. It is the ways in which we show up for our students, but also the ways in which we show up for ourselves. And I'm glad I listened to some of the conversation. I'm glad you all have showed up for yourself, or you are learning how to show up for yourself, because it is important. So we're going to end on that note for this one. Just leave it. I think I want to close on this particular picture and the video on this particular picture. And so that is it for our chapter 1. I'm going to stop the video here. And I'm going to stop the record.